So it's Municipality of West Elgin Recreation Committee for January 17th, 2024. It's our hybrid meeting here. So number one is to call the meeting to order, which I've done. And number two is election of a chair and a vice chair. I'm gonna go ahead and look to see who's to the floor for that, for elections. So I'll make do you want to do that to call for elections, or shall I do it, Jennifer?
It's up to you, whatever.
If it leaves me out of it, that's probably best. So you go ahead if you like.
Okay. So I'll now call for the first time nominations from the floor for the position of chair. Michelle?
I nominate Teresa. She's done a great job so far. Hopefully she'll agree to stay on for us.
I'll now call for the second time nominations from the floor for the position of chair. I'll call for the third and final time for nominations from the floor for the position of chair. Teresa, are you willing to stand as chair?
Yes, thank you. I'd like to do that. Sounds great.
But I hereby declare that Teresa is the chair of the Recreation Committee for 2024.
So now we'll move on to vice chair, who is currently Cindy.
Yes. So I'll now call for the first time nominations from the floor for the position of vice chair. Michelle?
Megan,
I nominate, is Cindy on the meeting?
She is not on here yet.
Okay, well, I don't want to nominate someone who's not here, so I will rescind.
I nominate George. I nominate Megan.
So I'll call for the second time nominations from the floor for position of vice chair. I'll call for the third and final time for nominations for the floor for vice chair. Megan, are you willing to stand? Okay, so I hereby declare that Megan is the chair of the Recreation Committee Board for 2024.
Is Teresa chair and I vice chair?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, she misspoke. She meant vice chair. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Megan's like, that's not what I agreed to.
Sorry, vice chair.
Yeah, we're good. Okay, so we'll carry on. We'll go with our code of conduct in terms of reference. I believe in our agenda, the terms of reference is the first there. And when it says Dutton Dunwich, we really mean West Elgin, because sometimes it says Dutton Dunwich throughout, which we know. Sometimes we look at what our partners are doing and it gets incorporated in what we're doing. So, and they do vice versa too. So anybody have anything they want to add or and to look at any section? Probably would go by section to section would be easiest. So if you call it out or like the heading, are probably easiest to follow along with what you're talking about. Michelle, you had your hand up.
Oh, I just wanted to, there was an issue I had with one of the things, but are we going through each topic or?
No, what I'm saying is if you have a section you want to talk about, just so we can all follow along and know where we're talking, name out a page number or a heading or a section or whatever to make it easiest for us, all of us to know where you're looking at, because it's kind of lengthy.
I would like to address the committee composition. I know in our last meeting, we had talked about perhaps allowing other people to sit on the committee. I would like to add that as probably non-voting members. Otherwise, we'd have to go back to council. And I would also suggest that the committee shall also include parks and recreation staff as required, dependent on agenda items, should be amended.
Mm-hmm.
I think part of, and I'm excited to have a new year of rec and a year under our belt, but I think that we need to start really highlighting the importance of recreation for our community, not only for its residents, but for the impact on economic development. And so to have us rec staff here sometimes kind of diminishes the work we're all trying to do.
So our CAO, Magda Badura, called me before the meeting and said if we have any questions during the meeting, she's available at this time. And then anything we wanted to change in the future, needed someone else at the meeting, we'd look at that and see who's available as well. Because I had sent out an email asking, like we try to make decisions, but then Jennifer has to go back and tell us again, and it's kind of delaying us. I don't know if anybody else feels that way. But I believe Megan had mentioned that before, like maybe back in October, like way in the fall, that we're waiting and jostling back around and it's just not getting us. It's like spinning our wheels a little bit, in my opinion. I don't know if I'll be honest. I think it's Jennifer, but it's a whole month. And then we're waiting again and trying to get things moving. And it can be a time constraint for us, I meant to say. So how many people were you thinking for committee composition? Everybody here after Michelle brought it up. 2 members of council, 5 members of the public, and then the non-voting members. Another 5, another 4. I don't know what you're looking at.
I'm wondering if we could say up to 10. We're not likely ever going to get that, but maybe if we aim high. I'm just thinking, some of the events that we perhaps come up, or as we continue to grow recreation, just be nice to maybe have a higher number so that we could tap into that if need be. We're not having to go back and keep adding, I guess.
Okay, so you're thinking 5 voting and 5 extra, or 15 in total?
15 in total, I think, would be good, because if we advance recreation a little bit more, or however the future unfolds and folds out, and we're we need little committees, some people, then we can kind of tap into different people. And if they don't regularly come to meetings, or however that structure is going to be set up, we've just got little pockets of people that we can kind of go to, I guess.
Okay, and then it's not addressed there, but we did have a student and they stepped down. Are we still looking for a student voice, a youth voice?
I think that would be beneficial, because they would have the connection with the West Elgin Community Health Center. Like they would probably sit on that committee, perhaps. So I think it would be a good connection.
Okay. Anybody else, anything else you want to say on that?
I will just mention one thing, and I don't know if we can do this, but I'm just thinking with some of the non-voting members, there's a way that we could maybe, I don't want to say cherry pick people, but if we could maybe tap a few folks that we think might be good connections to have, like, so maybe we tap a teacher with with the public board or something like that, because Nicole's with the Catholic board, like just so that we have a little mix of kind of where kids and youth in our community kind of folks that can help with that.
No, I see what you're saying. So people with a broad spectrum kind of thing that have different skills, bringing them in. Okay. Michelle, is your hand up?
Just to Megan's point, maybe some diversity. So reaching out to maybe maybe a man out there wants to join the committee. I don't know, but I agree. I think creating a well-rounded committee will only help serve us in the future.
Yeah, it's kind of different that it's all female faces. Not sure why that is.
I'm gonna
Um,
be petty actually for 2 seconds too, and perhaps we might wanna send a poster out to the folks that were commenting on the Facebook post. Just the right.
mhm. So I had a bunch of them reach out to me through Messenger on Facebook as well as email and texting, asking if they could attend this meeting. I said all our meetings are open to the public, but you can't vote or whatever. But I mean, everyone's welcome to any of the committee meetings to come and listen and have the. No one did take me up on it though. That's not a negative. I'm just saying no one took me up on it. So like maybe the lives got busy or something. It's just after the holidays and it's cold and but yeah, I think if we reached out again to any of the number of people and then yeah, hear some different voices maybe and different points of view that maybe we're not looking at or thinking about. So we can look there. That's a great point as well. One of the ladies that reached out to me, not kind of what you were talking about, Megan, but I thought she was a bit diverse because she has a teenager as well as like a younger child. So she might have a better look at what do you old like kids, older kids going to be in their 20s within a few years, and yet kids still in primary grades. So that big spread. So yeah. Any other questions or comments? Cindy, you're making me cold. Okay. I had one, if that's okay. I think it was number, let me just go through here. Number 4 under reporting relationship. That's page 4. So it says a rec assistant. So we don't really have a rec assistant, is my understanding. I don't know what that means. Michelle had brought up at our last council meeting a great point that maybe we could have like our rec supervisor join in to some meetings. So Adam or anyone like that. What do other people think about that? Is everyone familiar with Adam Ecker? You can't miss him. Tall fellow, really nice.
I
So
think
yeah.
it would be good to have him personally, just because sometimes I feel like we're kind of blindly organizing and planning and thinking about things. And so to have a perspective, for example, Canada Day, like they would be able to guide us a little bit better onto, well, this is where the power supplies and this is where this is. And I just feel like we're kind of planning things a little bit blindly. So if he's able to attend and can kind of shed some light on a few things, I think that'd be helpful.
Yeah, and be mindful of his time. Like if it's just maybe at the beginning of our meeting to talk about Canada Day or a special event or whatever. I know Lee in the past has come and attended different things. And when we need to know that, for example, if we have Canada Day last year, he for sure made himself ready and available ahead of time, during and after. But any questions, say the Rodney Fair Committee has, he'll go out and be there and available for that because he has that knowledge that we just don't have. So yeah, I just thought number 4 was a good thing to bring up. We have Jennifer here as our secretary to do our agenda and to have and bring back things that we need answers from. But I think having a person that deals with rec all the time is a great point that Michelle brought up. Because like you said, Megan, he would know where all the resources, what they've used in the past, everything. And then we're not just pulling ideas out there that might just be wasting our time and not be something that is feasible. Michelle, you had your hand up. Oh, you're muted, Michelle.
It's been a long night. I was with Joy Westlake tonight, and I also think there's a need from a perception base to have our rec staff member joining our rec committee, because it is sometimes perceived that we don't care actually about recreation. So it's important, I think, for our community that they see that our staff member is invested in not only what this committee is doing, but what we are trying as a municipality to give back to the community.
Yeah, that's great. So if we could, reporting relationship, what could we change in that there? And bring back a suggestion. Says it's an advisory, the second paragraph starts with it, it's an advisory body to council. Does not have any delegated authority, but yet we're the planning for things and the brains of it all. So could we add a line at the end of the first paragraph to reflect that we'd like to have on a event by event basis access to a recreation supervisor or something along those lines? What wording do you guys think would be best to express what we're needing? This is our roadmap, so we kind of need to make it clear. Michelle again?
Teresa, just to your email that you sent earlier today, it is almost to me that we need clarification on every committee who's sitting on them. So perhaps this is a bigger conversation with our CA, like maybe we need to reassess which staff are responsible for the committee, and then maybe we can come back and add to the, does that make sense?
Yeah. Sounds great. So will we look at that when we can see what staff we can assign? Is that what you're saying? Okay. Any other parts of this terms of reference anyone wants to look at or dissect? I was a little confused. So the mayor can be a voting member, but I think that's in the next section, actually. But I think that's under the municipal act, that they can be a voting member, but not be constantly have to be at committees, so. No one else has anything else they want to add to this? Go ahead.
I
Cindy.
do. Sorry, I'm jumping in at the at a spot where I'm not exactly sure where we're at. I'm assuming that we're talking about the code of conduct in terms of reference.
Yes, we're starting
Okay.
off the first part first, though. So
Okay.
pages
So,
1 through what's that, 6, 7? I'm not sure what that is. Before you see the crest
Oh.
for to 8.
Okay, so I don't know, maybe you've talked about this already, but I was just curious in the committee composition part about how in the Dutton one, it mentioned about residents of the community that are the ones that make up the membership. And I was wondering, did you guys talk about that already, or did you put any thought into it being residents?
Yeah, so we came up with 15 members is what Megan
Okay.
was thinking. And then 5 voting is what my understanding was, and 10. And then we can look at making it a diverse composition. So like, since we have
Okay.
Nicole so graciously from the educator from the Catholic board, could we have an educator from the public board? Could we maybe have an educator from the secondary sector? Could we, I don't know, they're just different diversity within. So like
Okay.
you're the early childhood educator voice, like there's just, and Courtney too, like it's just, those voices are important, so.
Okay,
And
I'm just
Michelle
sorry,
had-
just wanted to make sure you guys had
Okay.
talked about that already, that's all. Okay,
Michelle had mentioned diversity because, you know, we're all female. Maybe there's a male that would like to be on it or a few, so, yeah. Something like
Okay.
that. If I'm missing anything, catch Cindy up. I don't know what I'm missing, but I think I feel I'm missing something. And then, Megan had brought up, well, you were at the meeting way in the fall when she brought this up as well, but she reiterated again tonight. And then when we have events, we're not scrambling, how many of us to get those done in the heat of Canada Day. So we can have those interested parties. And then when someone's term is up too, I was just thinking of this, then maybe those people want to come on as a voting member too. So we'll move along to page 9, which says Committee and Board Orientation Manual 2023. So this is the one last year, so we're just going to update it for 2024. The definition of meeting, procedural bylaw, which is page 11. Anything anybody wanted to look at or update there? Everybody read through it. We got it. Thank you, Jen, for getting it so early to us. We are allowed to have closed meetings under the Act, so municipal Act, if we needed to do so. I don't see any hands, so if you do have questions later, you can refer to myself or Jennifer. We're going to go to number 4 of our agenda, which is adoption of the agenda. The recommendation is that West Elgin Recreation Committee hereby adopts the agenda as circulated. I need a mover and a seconder for that. Moved by Megan, second by Michelle. All in favor? That is so moved. Disclosure of any pecuniary interest. Anybody can declare it now or at the time. Not seeing any. The minutes is number 6. Recommendation that the West Elgin Recreation Committee adopts the minutes of December 6, 2023 as printed and circulated. If I could have a mover and a seconder for that. Moved by Nicole. Seconded by Courtney. Thank you for that. And all in favor? So moved. Any business arising from that minutes is number 7 on our agenda. Not seeing any. And then we're down to number 8 of our agenda, which is staff reports. And that's what Jennifer's compiled for. Would you have anything else, Jennifer?
Just an update that all the lines are down at the rec center. So that was completed before Christmas. It's busy at the rec center. It's fully booked every night. So it's good to see. We have had quite a few complaints come in about the price increase. So I know that's something that's going to be coming up to council. But just so everyone's aware, it has gone from $3 to $5. So we've gotten quite a bit of pushback on that. So there will be more to come. I just know that it's going to council next week. And I'm just kind of waiting to hear back what comes of that.
Okay.
I think as a rec committee member, it would, with all the comments that were circulating online, it was really, they were really frustrating to read because, you know, it just, as a committee member, you just are always trying to, and I'm sure as a council member, you're always trying to do better for the community. And there's just so many, I mean, it doesn't, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to realize that expenses have gone up with everything. Like you just go and buy groceries and costs have gone up. So I don't understand I'm having trouble understanding the mindset of like, it's been $3 for 20 years and why can't it continue to be $3? And I guess just my own personal opinion is just some of those comments, they were extremely frustrating to read. And it's the same people that comment on the same things. I think I was sharing with Michelle, the same people that commented on that post were the same people that were commenting on the LCBO during COVID and trying to get Lori fired. So it's the same people. Like these people are not going to step up. I'm sure many of them don't go to pickleball or like visit the pool. So it just feels like, I know it's not personal, but sometimes it's just like you're trying your best to do things in this community and make things happen. And I get it. People just want to complain and be an armchair complainer, but it was just really frustrating to read those comments. So Jennifer from the municipality can only imagine how frustrating, you know, you guys are trying to put a roof on the place and keep the lights on and people are like, I don't want to pay $5. So anyway, it was just very frustrating to read.
Yeah, it's super frustrating. I actually had people be quite pleasant to me, a couple of people, but here's an example. We have something out for an operator right now for municipality, and to me, it's sad. I read it today that one of the working conditions listed is occasional exposure to unpleasant and irate people. I just thought if your workplace has to say that when they're trying to hire you, it's not good. It's not good. People, we're all adults. We all need to say there's nothing wrong with voicing your opinion. Believe me, you've all met me. But I just not cool to be inappropriate. Another thing, Councillor Cameron, when she was on the rec board and on council, had a really good idea, and we explored it. It didn't work, but to doing like a paper, like I think it was every 6 months was her idea, if I'm correct. I don't know, maybe Nicole remembers, because Nicole and Cindy, I think, were on the rec board then. But it was every so often, and you paid like a flat fee, and then you could do all rec programs as long as I believe they weren't private. So it was a good idea, but I can't remember. I don't know if you guys remember why we couldn't do that or why it didn't go through. I think it just wasn't feasible for the rentals, but I don't know. It was a great idea, but we explored
Did
that.
it
So
did it have something to do with also like having to track it?
yeah, I think
Like it
so.
might have, I'm like, I
We
feel
had
like
an
there
idea
might have
of a
been
punch
like,
card, and she had another great idea. Gosh, I can't remember. It was like twofold, but yeah, something about a punch card. I think you're right, Nicole, or tracking it. And anyways, so if anybody comes up with that idea, we've already explored it and looked at it. I want to say just before COVID, so like 2019, was a great idea to have. It didn't work out. But yeah, there's doers and then there's thinkers, and like North Megan said, armchair quarterback. So I think Courtney had her hand up first. Go ahead, Courtney. Courtney?
Sorry, I had to figure out how to unmute myself.
Okay.
Sorry, it's been tricky. My children are around, so I've been a little bit quieter than normal. But I just wanted to kind of echo what you were saying there, Megan, that a lot of the people that were on these posts, I recognize them from my own experience in sort of causing drama in mom groups regarding the child care center, instead of sort of taking it to the source. People getting involved with things that had absolutely nothing to do with them. They're all very much the same people. So I don't know who's coming to you, but hopefully that helps ease your mind a little bit. That I think, like most of us know, that a lot of these people are raising a stink for just to pass the time. The only other thing I was kind of popped in my head is, and this might not be feasible at all, it would add a whole lot of work. Something that I used to do for youth drop-in programs in the past was that we sort of did a fundraiser with those that were able to contribute towards the entrance fee for families that maybe met a certain threshold. So they just required a bit of financial assistance, and sort of had to give us some information about, obviously, reasons why they couldn't make that fee. I understand that that would make things a little bit tricky, but I kind of share with you in the feelings about an increase to $5. I just, however, at the same time, we are all feeling the pinch. So, they look at it as a percentage increase, and they're kind of getting up in arms over it. So anyways, just a thought in my head.
Thank you. Michelle?
I guess the only thing I would say is that maybe to help, Facebook is a terrible place to have these conversations, but I also think we do ourselves a disservice by not putting some kind of explanation in our posting moving forward, that we are looking at a repair that is going to cost way more than what we had budgeted for to begin with. Our insurance has gone up, gas has gone up, that we've been talking about. So sometimes, instead of just putting the rates have gone up, perhaps we can focus on a little bit more explanation in the post. people are going to not ask further questions of their counselor or the rec committee. They're just going to have these conversations anyways, but at least by providing the information in the post, we've kind of done our due diligence. There's nothing else we can do.
Mhm. Megan?
Two things I just wanted to mention. Courtney, I think that's a great idea about the fundraiser. I'm wondering if, maybe we're not at the stage just yet with fundraisers, but I'm wondering if maybe we could, maybe reach out to our service clubs and just say, this is what we're offering. Maybe a rec committee member might want to do a presentation, but this is what we're trying to offer. This is the cost. This is the reason why the costs have gone up. And we're looking to our service clubs to maybe make a $500 donation to offset, families that maybe want to come out but can't. And then maybe that's something that we can promote to our families. Like if you're, and this is where it gets tricky. It's kind of like the breakfast program. It's for everybody, but there's a stigma that it's only for kids that can't afford food. But like somehow create it so that if families can't afford it, you can still come, and the cost is, we can waive the cost for you or something. I don't know how to get around that or how to present it, but I know that a lot of our service clubs, I mean, their primary reason for raising funds, and especially like I know with the Optus Club with bingo, it has to go to youth programming and that sort of thing. So that would be an easy item. The other thing I was going to mention is, and it kind of goes along with my long-winded email that I sent to everybody about agenda items, is I also wonder if there's a way that we could start collecting some data or metrics or something that kind of gives the rec program a little bit of meat, so that when people are saying, well, why are you charging me $5? Or, why can't whatever, we can say, well, we offered recreation to 100 kids in 6 months, or we offered, the rec hall was booked, five nights a week for X amount of months, just so that we have some sort of like stats or statistics or something. And maybe it might be an end of year report that maybe goes on the website or something, just some sort of like metrics that we're kind of tracking a little bit, so that we're kind of creating a case so that people aren't saying, well, what's the rec committee do, or what do they even offer, or what's even happening. We've got a few kind of, I don't know, metrics that we can share.
Yeah, that sounds very intelligent, very smart thing to do. To have something to back us. Michelle?
I also wonder, I know that it is probably cheaper if shuffleboarders or pickleballers were to rent the space themselves and then pay the municipality. We've had this conversation before, and I think talking to the shuffleboarders, part of it is the confusion on how to get insurance and how to organize it. I am wondering if Salis Insurance would be able to provide some information for us, because when talking to Joy, if she had 24 people out there for her 2 hour of pickleball and she rented the space, it would have been less than $5 a person that they were each paying. But she was like, I don't know how to do the insurance. I don't know if I want to organize it. But if we provide the information, so when people say $5 is too expensive, and say, well, there is an inexpensive way for you to be providing pickleball if you take on the ownership of organizing it. We've given them the tools, and if they choose not to, then this is why it's $5, right? It really puts into perspective that we are offering some services for that $5.
So my understanding, it was just a rider you put on your own insurance to do a rental.
It is. So,
Okay. I thought maybe I was thinking wrong.
no, I'm just, it became, because I spent a couple of minutes with Joy, it's frustrating, right? When you hear this, when they could take on the rental of the space and it would be less money for them, but they don't want to take on the organization of it. So,
Like the cornhole group.
yes.
Yeah, they're full, and yeah. they've been taking it on themselves. Anybody else have anything they want to say? Just I thought you should be made aware that the Rodney, not a big deal, the Rodney skateboard park was vandalized with a hate symbol. So the weather had not cooperated to get rid of it, but as soon as it was even close to breaking, our team was out there doing the best they can to get it faded. And so when the weather does cooperate, it will be, or we compare chemicals, not what I'm saying, it'll be gone. So if you do hear about it, it is a rec thing. I just thought I better mention it because we're here. And it's, we know about it, it's being taken care of, hopefully wiped out soon. So unfortunate, but that's about that. So anybody else want to have anything else there they want to talk about from the staff reports or? No. So 9's new business. So we'll talk about budget items. So what would you like to look on the budget there when we're start our process, which we haven't started yet? Go ahead, Megan.
Has there been any talk about, like I know Adam is in his role of rec supervisor or whatever his title is, but has there been any talk of like actually having like a rec person that like similar to what Dutton has or had and Glencoe and that sort of thing, like a person that's all they do is just do rec for the municipality?
So we had in the past, and we were told there wasn't enough money in the budget. I can't remember what year that was. And then was kind of left in an election year. We didn't pursue that. So I agree we should have someone dedicated to rec. Rec's important to people. Important to mental health, as we all know everything. I don't need to list it. We all know what we're talking about. So yeah, I think it's something we really should ask again and again and again. What's everyone else's thoughts on that?
Yeah, I really think that there needs to be a big push for that, because what's happening is a lot of these things are falling on the backs of people who already have, like yourselves, that already have so much on your plate. And, you know, there's only so many hours in a day. And for the health and longevity and a sense of belonging in communities, I think it just needs to be a given. It needs to be included all the time. So that's just my 2 cents.
So we'd have to back it with your taxes for other reasons have gone up, but it will go up if we have someone dedicated to this. I personally think that's super important to have someone all the time, like everyone else has echoed. So Megan, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, I just feel too, a lot of our families are going to other communities and they're participating in other communities and the events that they have, and then they're spending money in those communities as well. So whether it's, and I think I mentioned this before, I probably sound like a broken record, but whether it's, you know, I'm taking my kid over to Glencoe to do this, and oh, we'll just pick up a pizza. Oh, I better get some gas. So all of that money has been spent in another community, where some of that money could stay in our own community. So that's where I kind of struggle a little bit with.
Michelle?
I was going to echo Megan's point. A number of the parents who dropped their kids off tonight went to the grocery store. Some of them went to get burgers, right? And then they came back. The other thing, and Blank and I were having this conversation before he passed away, that sometimes you need to spend money to make money. So we currently have no one who is advocating or even advertising that we have a rec center that is available for renting. The kitchen's available for renting. I don't think people know that it's there. The other thing is we have a rec center that sits directly between Windsor and London. And there are lots of small shows that would be wanting to come in and rent it. So we currently don't have a staff member who can help us generate revenue. And I've been approached by a number of the gentlemen who want to see baseball brought back to West Lorne. They want a fence. Once again, that is revenue generating. But I do think our staff levels right now, no one is thinking to themselves, how can I bring more in? Because it creates more work. So the idea for everything similar to the building department is we should be looking for a rec department that's not making money, but it's at least trying to cover its cost. And you can only cover your costs by having someone who's responsible for trying to generate revenue. So I would argue that, yes, we are spending taxpayers' money by bringing in this position, but this is also a person who could be directly responsible for writing grants. We don't currently have that person. It is someone who could be helping us maybe move some larger projects forward that are recreation based, that will maybe bring development, which brings more tax dollars. So I think it's looking at it a different way, that we're looking to add a position so that we can be generating revenue.
Megan?
Yeah, I was just, that's a great point, Michelle. I 100% agree. I don't think we necessarily need somebody that is like organizing the swimming lessons in the summer. We need someone who is more thinking big picture, like how can we sell our facilities to other communities? I mean, in a lot of communities where I've lived, recreation, I mean, the arenas and that sort of thing, they are not essentially, they are kind of like black holes where they do run a deficit. But just thinking big picture on ways that we can advertise our services and what we can offer, and just kind of generate some revenue, do some grants, get some, just think of maybe some different organizations that we can bring in. Yeah.
Michelle?
Well, it's even just, I think, Megan, you and I have talked about this before, but even roller skating has seen such a huge turnaround. And we have an arena that for almost 6 months of the year isn't being used. But I don't believe right now that Adam has time to be thinking to himself, I wonder how I could get roller skating into the West Lorne Arena. And I think perhaps the position that was held before by Emily, while adding some value, wasn't crafted or it wasn't the best use maybe of the taxpayers' money. And I think it's defining the role as a revenue generator and setting some clear targets would be a more effective way of creating our rec.
I know just before the pandemic, Nicole and Cindy will remember this, we talked about having what can we do in our arena in the wintertime, and we explored lacrosse, we explored so many things, but I think the hang up was humidity or something. We had to be careful with what we did because of the surface became slippery. Roller skating I don't think would be a problem, but I don't know. Nicole?
Well, I know one of the things that we talked about at one point in time, I know that before I think Emily left, we were going to like try that roller skating. They did it in Buffalo, and that kind of we just kind of see what it was going to be like. I know that it's quite popular in Buffalo. They do it once a month, and from May to I don't know if it's September or if they end in August, and they do like a different theme night. But I know one of the things that we also talked about too was whether it was ball hockey or roller hockey. I know Mount Bridges does. They just started last year. They did like a roller hockey league, and it's quite popular. All the kids, like there was an entire team of my kids' age group that went to Mount Bridges to play.
Wow.
And I'm sure that there would be a number of other kids in our area that would have gone, but that they paid $250 to Mount Bridges instead of keeping the money here. So I know at one point I did know somebody who was willing to organize it, but then they were saying that the problem was with the municipality. So,
Mhm.
but those are all people that are leaving and going elsewhere. And I would say I probably know close to 50 kids that went and played in that league. And that all their money went there instead of staying here when they would have rather played here because they play West Norman hockey.
Mhm. Yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame. Anybody else for any of that budget items point? Megan? Oh, you're muted, Megan.
I'm just wondering if maybe one of the takeaways from our meeting, and then perhaps when we come back for our next meeting, maybe it's an agenda item where we start to think about what are some key job description or just some key things that we want. If we could magically have a recreation person, what are some key elements of the role so that it could be presented to council to consider?
Okay. Do you think we need it sooner than that, Michelle, or?
I was gonna say if we could put some thought together and just maybe do an email, it's capital budget on the 25th, and I think February 4th, would that be the one we would look at that position?
Mhm.
Maybe I think February 8th. So maybe we can all kind of come up with something in an email. So when Teresa and I are at our council meeting, we can bring that forward. And then I'm not sure, maybe Teresa, you can answer, or Jennifer, does Adam have a job description?
Yes.
So if we could maybe get that emailed out to us, because we would want it, we don't need to be, we need it to be different from what Adam's doing, but to see what Adam's job description is so that they can work together.
Okay.
Would probably be helpful. And then I know Dutton Dunwich has a position like this, so I will reach out and see if I can get that job description. And then I will reach out to the City of London just to see which kind of positions they have there.
Mhm. I don't know if our surrounding committees or communities, I meant to say, I know Glencoe does, but if the other smaller communities have a dedicated rec person or not, I'm speaking Ridgetown, Dutton, Dunwich, Southwold. I don't know if they do or not.
And it would be really something interesting in my economic development committee meeting to have this conversation, that what we are looking for is to drive also economic development through this rec position.
Mhm. Okay, so some emails out, looking to gather some information and get it out to everybody. Budget items, if we have to do it through email, fine. If we need to have an earlier meeting, then we'll, I guess, have to do that. So our clear goals right now under 9.1, which is budget items, is we'd like to have a dedicated rec person that also could write grants. And what else could they do? Just the two things. Well, not just, but
Well,
those
and
are
they would be derived, like, I don't know if Adam is directly involved with all of the groups that are going in, right? We should be looking to fill or have activated the rec center from 9 until 9 at night, 7 days a week, right? Like that
Mhm.
is ultimately how we can lower rates, because we're bringing in more people and more money. I think that there's lots of big projects coming up. We do have the park in Rodney that is trying to move forward, and our staff is busy. So having them there, I think there might be a couple of other projects that are coming down the line. Activating the hockey arena would be something else. I think it's a rec person, but they're a revenue generator that we're trying through this position to find a way to break even on our activities.
As Nicole said, and to keep the residents here, not having to travel, not having to do all that.
Well, and I go back to the baseball, and is there adult soccer being played in West Lauren currently?
I don't know. I used to play it years ago, but I don't know if there still is. Used to be the
Courtney?
Blue Devils for the men, and I can't remember what we called ourselves for the women's league.
Courtney, do you know if we have adult soccer?
It's just through London and area, so Lossell, and then the Shooting Stars. I'm playing with them this summer, but I don't know what league they're tied to. We did talk about this just briefly. I was mentioning the need for adult recreation, just the casualness that a lot of adults in this area are driving to Shedden to play in an adult league on Sundays. And I've talked to many of them that wish it was here because, of their children's soccer schedules and stuff, it would just be so much easier if it was here. And we kind of chatted a little bit about that, but this is a prime example of, an idea that could easily bring in quite a bit of revenue, get the community active, but who's spearheading this and making it happen, right?
So I'm wondering if we could all kind of put a list together of activities we know people would rather do here. So that when we're presenting the staff position that we are also showing, so there's soccer now, there's the men's baseball team that are currently renting in Glencoe would rather stay in West Lauren. So it seems that we have lots of activities that could immediately start here. And there's a number of activities we could look to bring in that maybe haven't been considered that probably would more than pay for a staff member to help facilitate the organization of them.
Mm-hmm. I already had a little list as we've been talking over the past few meetings. So I think the movie nights, someone had mentioned we want to bring back either in the park or in one of our centers. The Rodney Park Committee that has formed to come see us and to have a chat in one of our meetings, maybe. I'm not sure if they're able to come or not, but that would be great to have ball hockey or something within the arena during those summer months. And Michelle's words just now were to activate the arena, upgrade and put money into the ball diamonds so we could have someone here. I had adult soccer down, but to add to what we've been saying tonight, an organizer or someone to spearhead that. And then inline or / roller skating we've been talking about since forever. Either at the Rodney Rec Center or at the arena or both or whatever. I do notice when someone mentioned earlier in regards to Bothwell, I noticed in those pictures a lot of people from West Elgin there enjoying it. And they could be enjoying it here, just like Megan's point about everything else, and just like Courtney's as well. They could be having the nights here and the theme nights there, here instead of there, sorry. I do know that people are really wanting to get back into cards. Doesn't sound very rec-ish, but I mean, that's something you have in a rec center and such. So you could have, dual things, different things going on. So what other kind of events or rec would someone like to try to see to come back, Michelle?
It's in the rec center, but we have a kitchen that is very much underutilized, and kitchen space and rental kitchen space is always something in communities that people are looking for. And then recreation, it is bringing shows. So the gun show loves that space, or wedding shows. And it's just, once again, I go back to often it's just people coming to rent the space, but you need someone that they can connect to, who can answer the questions, open the doors, and organize the schedule. So I think other activities that could be happening at the rec center that other organizations can rent it out for, but we don't have the staff. who can be advertising or facilitating the rental.
I do know that I had the West Elgin Community Health Center years ago, like maybe 2 years ago, come to me, and they really wanted a kitchen for their men's cooking class. I don't know if they still do men's cooking classes. Different. Oh, Cindy's saying yes. Men's cooking classes. What else was it? Maybe kitchen kid. Anyways, they wanted to have that they could, you know, have a spot in Dutton to do it, have a spot here to do it if they wanted to expand. And we didn't have a certified kitchen in Rodney. So it'd be great if we could utilize that kitchen and make it a certified kitchen so that people who wanted to have those programming, I still call it the warm room, but meeting room, warm room, we could have it there, and then they have their certified kitchen so they could have their event and have that great kitchen space too. So yeah, something to think about for budget time as well. Megan?
I was just gonna say, two things to add to piggyback onto Michelle's point. I think if we could have a person, I see one of the biggest specifications or whatever for this person is that I think that they have to be like passionate, and that you know they're excited about showing our facilities off and creating some buzz, and just being excited and passionate about it. Because if you have someone that's just like, ah, this is our space, this is what we offer, versus they could go to another community and they are greeted warmly and welcomed in, and the space could be used for these 5 different things, and these are the different configurations that we have, and these are the different offerings. Like if it's packaged really well, I think we can have a lot of buy-in. I think if it's just kind of like, this is what we have, and it's not packaged well, then I don't think people are going to be interested. The other thing, I don't know a lot about this since leaving the school board, but one of the obstacles that we might run into or are currently running into is, I know that the high school gyms and the public school gyms, you can rent those out. So I think the youth soccer club there in the winter, they were renting the rec center, and it was just becoming so incredibly costly. So then they were able to go and rent the gym at the high school and use all their soccer equipment, and I think their rental was like 0. So I think that's another potential roadblock that we may be running into, where people are like, oh, I'm not going to pay to use your facility when I can go to the school, use their equipment and their gym and not pay anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a big roadblock too. Well, all great ideas. Anything else on 9.1? Well, we kind of touched on 9.2 as well, but anything else? So we'll go on to 9.2. Like I said, we've touched on that for community goals. So attraction, retention. Do we have community goals about what we want for 2024? Is that what we want to narrow it down to as well? Not just the community goals we just talked about under budget items, but like 2024 goals.
I think
just do it
kind of
broadly spectrum.
I think just kind of mapping out what we know for sure. We know Canada Day, and we know we're going to do something at Christmas. So kind of mapping out maybe a bit of a calendar of some of the things that we want to offer, when we want to offer them, maybe seeing if there's some overlap with, like, we're not obviously going to offer soccer when outdoor soccer is starting in April or something like that. And then maybe like overlapping it with, maybe March break, for example, there's lots going on at the library and there's lots of this and lots of that. So looking at the overlap, and I guess just trying to be proactive and just trying to plan ahead a little bit too. So if we know Canada Day is happening on this day, let's kind of work backwards a little bit. When do we kind of need to start doing A, B, and C? What do we need to start planning and that sort of thing, so that it's not just a rush. And I guess I think the big thing too for me is, what are we working towards? Yes, we're working towards creating more recreation opportunities for the folks of West Elgin, but like, what does Is that what the goal that we're working towards? Are we just trying to create recreation? Are we actually offering it? Like, just trying to narrow down what exactly our vision or goal is of the rec.
Michelle?
I really like kind of missions and goals for the year and even for this committee. And part of me really feels that for me on the rec committee, it's changing how staff in the municipality and our community views rec, right? We always seem to struggle and fight or have conversations with community members about spending money. So how can we, over the next 2 or 3 years, show the importance that recreation plays, and that when we spend money on these things, there is such a bigger value to not only small businesses and health and kids and keeping money in our community.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, it's so great that we offer the Canada Day thing and we do something at March break. But for me, it's how can we start to shift the perception of what recreation means and what recreation means specifically in small rural towns.
I totally agree with you, Michelle. I think it would be neat to set some type of goal for whether the word I'm looking for is advocacy or just establishing a better understanding of the benefits of recreation and and yeah, it all comes down to that value and how people see value in rec. And not just community members, but also surrounding communities. Sorry, my child's distracting me. He's in the living room with his underwear on. So, but yeah, I just think it comes down to that value piece. So then, how do we, as a committee, sort of amplify that voice so that we can share these things with others?
I get kind of disheartened because we try things, not just rec committee, but other. I'll give an example. The Fair Board, I don't know how many years ago, 5 years ago maybe, did a wonderful idea of doing winter events. So we still had grandstand at the track, and they did snowman building competitions and dog sled competitions with each other, like the humans were pulling other humans, and it looked like a really great time. And I think they had 25 people show. Most of those were organizers' families, and it was a bust. And that's not negative to them, because let me tell you, they tried and they had these awesome ideas and looked great. And we want this and we want that and we want engagement. And people bring out engagement and have things, and nobody comes. And I'm kind of getting disheartened with we would like, and then no. So I don't know if we don't have the buy-in, we don't have the right ideas. Movie nights have gone well other places. Here they have not. So I don't know what that is or why or how. It's just a little frustrating at this point when you get the naysayers all the time, and we would like this, we would like that, and it doesn't happen. So I think we need to find put all those ideas, great ideas you guys have together, and Teresa needs to figure out the naysayers. So but have people show up would be good. So so our concentrations for 2024, are we just going to list them out, or how do you want to? So Canada Day, obviously. Did anybody think that maybe we could do a small ball tournament and bring some people in, like just for a weekend? Would that be something that people in the area would be interested in? Adult ball tournament for a Saturday, Sunday kind of thing? Or even just a Saturday? Michelle?
Joy Westlake was talking about a pickleball tournament. I think there are some other tournaments. I also go back to if I think we have lots of ideas. I would hope that next month we would get the budget to put the staff through. And then our new amazing rec person can come and help us to organize it. It's hard right now, the limited staff we have, to try
Mhm.
to come up with something. And Joy had mentioned as well that she would love to come and join the rec committee in some part. I'm wondering if we wait for events to get our kind of 15-member group so that we can
Mhm.
be dividing them. She had said that she would love to do some kind of tournament that would be a fundraiser to help cover the cost for those people who couldn't afford the $5 as a way of generating revenue.
Offsetting, yeah, okay. Yeah, I was just going through it because it was 9.2 on the agenda, so I was trying to stick to it. But yeah, we can wait for that person. Sorry, I have a dog. Yeah, we can wait for that and see how that goes then, if that's okay with everybody else. 9.3 is new committee members. We already discussed that. So, how did we want to go about reaching out once it's comprised? Like, Jennifer, we're able to just add people ad hoc on the committee that aren't voting members on our own, or does that have to go through council?
Chatting with Terry the other day, it does have to go through council because it
That's-
updates our terms of reference. But she said it would be an easy report to put together that could go next week to council. So it would be a quick turnaround.
Okay, so once we have that A-OK, then maybe we can look at some names of people to approach and see who'd like to be committee members. Courtney?
I guess I wanted, I'm wondering if we had a designated, rec person, does that change the amount of people that you want on the committee? With how many, just with experience with like a board of directors, the more people sitting at a table sometimes isn't always as productive as you want because there's a lot of opinions at the table. I'm not saying that I don't see value in having sort of those key people that we're really looking for to tap into. I think that brings a lot to the table for sure. I guess in my mind, I'm wondering, would we feel the need to have 15 total if we had this designated person? I just thought I would throw that out there.
What's everyone thinking about Courtney's comment there? Michelle?
I think I completely agree with Courtney that part of the reason why we're looking for more hands is for smaller kind of committees. And if we had a staff member who could organize volunteers for specific events for us, we wouldn't need everyone sitting around the table. The Dutton Economic Development Committee that I saw it with, they had their voting members, and then they did have a couple of people who came, but the most they ever had was 12 people who were coming in, and they didn't come all the time. But I do agree that if we were to have a staff member, they would be able to facilitate volunteer committees for specific events for us and not necessarily needing them at every meeting.
Okay. Makes sense. Anybody
I guess
else?
my other fear is that when you have an abundance of people, sometimes they think, oh, I don't need to be there because X, Y, and so many other people are going to be there. And then you sort of get an inconsistent group that kind of shows up when they feel like it. I'm not saying that that's the way that it would be, but it's just something to consider if we had that person that was dedicated. But I definitely see the need or the want for more on the team when you feel like a lot of that work is falling on so few as it is. So I thought I would bring that up.
Okay, thank you.
I
Good
think-
point.
I think if we had, I see both sides of it. I think if we had more people to tap into, I think people, I just kind of see this rec person as kind of like the driver and kind of driving the projects, and then we're kind of hopping on board of you know, what we're interested in or what we want to participate in. Like I'm just thinking of the Optimist Club, for example. There's a whole bunch of members. Not everybody's attending every meeting, and there's so many different little projects going on that you can kind of have your hand in what suits your needs or your interests. So I think just having more, while I can appreciate that leads to more opinions and more hands in the pot, when it comes time to be, you know, manning ball hockey or that sort of thing, we just have a few more people that we can pull to make these things successful and not have the community be like, oh, there's another flop because this, that, and the other. So
Okay. Thank you for all that. Anything else you want to discuss at this time? We've lost Cindy, but she's probably chilly. No? Okay. I'll continue on to adjournment then.
Oh, sorry,
Michelle.
sorry. I should say at my first youth drop-in tonight,
Oh,
we
that's good.
had 9 kids show up.
Woo woo.
Everyone put lots of money in. They had such a good time that I think most of them are gonna go tell their friends and they'll come back. Now, I did not have any 14 to 17-year-olds, and I realized that's partly because I didn't really advertise in the high school. Basketball is currently on, volleyball is currently on, I think. But I'm going to give it kind of 2 or 3 more weeks. I've reached out to a couple of the high school kids I know to see if they have any interest. And if they don't, what I'm going to do is do a 6 to 8 age group, and then I'll do the 9 to the 13. But they all learned how to play pickleball and loved it. So we're going to do pickleball next week. They had lots of ideas, but it was so much fun.
That's awesome. And just also remember, don't be disheartened about the older kids, but you know, statistics show that females, especially after age 13, drop off for
Yes.
athletic. So unfortunately.
They do, but I'm hoping word gets out that I am so terrible at sports that they will feel like superstars.
Well, you're so wonderful at organizing it. It'll be great. So thank you for that. Oh, did you want to share? You talked about doing a well, it's economic development more, but maybe we could incorporate something else with it when we're going around with the, what did you call it? You know, with the food and the farms and
Oh, yeah, I have to write that grant. Jesus. I am looking to do a 10-day event and apply for a grant from FedDev Ontario. And it's called Open Farms West Elgin. It would be 2 weekends. So the first weekend we would start with the farmers market, and we would encourage all of our kind of restaurant businesses and our retail businesses to think about what rural means, what farm means to West Elgin. We would work with different farmers and have them open their doors so that people from the city or even people in our own community can start touring and seeing farm. And then on the closing weekend, we would have kind of a hoedown barn dinner on Main Street. We would close it down. But my hope would be to work with, we have a couple of really neat visual artists. We have musicians. It's to create interactive spaces about what farm and rural means in 2024 and in West Elgin. And the hope is, similar to Doors Open Ontario, is that we are opening our doors for hopefully a yearly event that can continue and reintroduce West Elgin as a destination for farm and rural. but I have not yet written the grant and it's due in about 4 weeks. So thank you for reminding me, and it put a little bit of a pit in my stomach, but I will do it.
I'm sorry about that. No, I just thought if, it's an event and it's an idea, and I thought it'd be a great place to share it be now. So, and here in this space. So, not totally wrecked, but it's an event. So I thought it'd be great. Anything else Amy wants to add to the meeting tonight? You know what time we're at here. Oh, okay. So go to number 10, which is adjournment. Are we meeting in March, not February?
So we had 8 meetings scheduled for the year. I did put in there or at the call of the chair. So if we want to have one in February, that's not a problem. It just wasn't on the calendar per se.
Yeah. No,
Yep.
I know that with budget times and other questions and that. But we can also communicate via email, so that's great. So I'll go ahead with the adjournment. The recommendation is that the West Elgin Recreation Committee hereby adjourn at 8:15 p.m. to meet again on March 27th, 2024, or at the call of the chair. Mover and a seconder. Michelle's moving, Megan seconding, and all in favor. That is so moved. Everybody stay warm. Yeah. Thank you for your time and your effort into our community. Thank you.
Have a great night, everyone.
You too.